Good morning again, friends, and welcome to our daily devotional. As we continue to study the book of Isaiah, I invite you to stay with me for a few minutes as we open up this beautiful chapter, the last two verses of Isaiah 58, because this is one of the most important verses in the Bible that talks about God's day. Isaiah 58, verses 13 and 14. It says, "If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own works, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in the Lord. And I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father. The mouth of the Lord has spoken." Seeking to do as he wishes, a person would have joy, not a spiritual salvation, because it says to ride on the heights, but also in prosperity, the feast of having that inheritance. 58 verse 13 says, "If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words." Friends, the holy day of the Lord is honorable. Friends, as I have mentioned yesterday, that restoration can be achieved through the renewed understanding of the Sabbath. In order for us to be restored by God, we have to really understand what Sabbath means in our lives. And our desire to keep the holy day that God set apart from other days, so that we can commune with him and remember him as a creator God. See, God is honored as believers engage specifically in activities that lead them more deeply to understand him and not doing our own ways. Especially on the Sabbath day, where God's people are called to set aside their common secular pursuits, our entertainments, and other activities that detach our relationship with him. But instead, we are encouraged to worship God and extend the act of kindness, or the acts of kindness which will glorify him and bring joy both to themselves, or to ourselves, and to those being served. Isaiah 58 verse 14 says, "Then you shall delight yourself in the Lord, and I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father. The mouth of the Lord has spoken." It says that we need to delight ourselves in the Lord. Sabbath will be a blessing rather than a burden to those who recognize its value as a gift from God, a day leading observers into an even more intimate relationship with him. High hills on the earth, it says, those who choose to honor the seventh-day Sabbath for a 24-hour period, not just a 2-hour period worship, or not of observing the Sabbath, or 5 hours observation of the Sabbath, but it says a 24-hour period each week, because that's why it says Sabbath day. It's not Sabbath half day or Sabbath 3 hours day. A day is a 24 hours. We have to choose to honor the seventh-day Sabbath, despite of our hardship, despite of the conflicts with our jobs, or apparent economic disadvantage, in spite of the challenges that we are facing right now, that we are forced to do something that God wants us to follow Him, to observe His Sabbath day. You see, we will be sustained and find our needs in abundant spiritual and material blessings that we can imagine if we fully trust in Him, that He will supply all our needs. Friends, the Sabbath, Ellen G. White mentioned that the Sabbath is God's time, not ours. When we trespass upon it, we are stealing from God. God has given us the whole 6 days in which to do our work, and has reserved only one to Himself. This should be a day of blessing to us, a day when we should lay aside all the secular matters and center our thoughts upon God and heaven. But while we worship God, we are not to consider this as a drudgery. The Sabbath of the Lord is to be made a blessing to us and to our children. They are to look upon the Sabbath as a day of delight, friends, a day which God has sanctified, a day they will consider it if they are properly instructed. They can be pointed to the blooming flowers and the opening buds and the lofty trees and beautiful spires of grass, and taught that God made all these things in 6 days and rested on the seventh day and hallowed it. According to Ellen G. White in Heavenly Places, Review and Herald. Friends, let us celebrate or enjoy the Sabbath, namely because it brings joy, it brings grace, it brings hope, and a special moment when we enter a special relationship with God. So I invite you to join with us tomorrow for our Sabbath worship. It starts at 11:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. For now, please take care and God bless you.